Crime Curious is a true crime podcast that takes an in-depth look into real cases through the lens of a trained investigator and former prosecutor turned judge.
If you are sensitive to expletives, anatomical descriptions, and accurate descriptions of crime scenes, this podcast may not be suitable for you.
Welcome to Crime Curious. I'm Charnell.
I'm Megan.
And I'm Brainbeth Jason.
Megan, so great to have you back in
Do you want
studio.
the head? The skull?
We
Always.
missed you. Shake all the gree. Gang's all here, and
Finally.
all is right with the world. Although Megan will have to excuse herself probably to cough.
If I cough, I have the plague.
We have
Go away.
Say so casually.
She just like, it's the plague.
What
Again.
can you do?
Again.
I mean, what do
Again.
you do? It's like, they're
Got
like,
the
so
plague
sorry you
again.
have bubonic plague. And you're like, okay, well, that sucks.
Well, we did cover
Well,
the
I guess I
typhoid,
can-
typhoid
Guess I can
Mary case.
cuddle with those mice now.
Typhoid Megan.
Typhoid Megan?
She is, yeah.
I need a shirt.
God, that's what I should have got you for Christmas.
Typhoid
Dang it.
Megan. Yeah.
Well, I have something special for us today because we have a very special fan picker. Our very own Brainbath Jason himself recommended this case.
I'm so proud.
I'm actually glad that you did because while this case is a perfect example of how social media can really skew things, can really miss the mark, real bad. And I want to read you, before we get started, guys, I'm going to read you the exact Facebook post that Jason sent me to start. And he said, I haven't researched this, but could you cover this on the podcast? So I read this Facebook post and thought, well, hell yeah, this sounds like something that would be right up our alley. Then I went deep diving, and I am really grateful that you did this because
Jason's alarm on his phone is going off. Hold
Oh, is that what-
momentarily.
is that what
Is
that
it
is?
time for your ED
My
meds?
egg timer went off.
So yes.
Yes, I have to take them hourly.
Okay. Just
Oh,
don't get
gosh.
stuck in close confines with him.
Are you? That
You'll
was
never make the corner.
rookie mistake. Are you ready now?
Yeah, I'm ready.
Okay. All notifications are silenced. I say
Yep,
as
yep.
I make sure mine are
Yeah,
as well.
we're good.
Okay. Good. Mm-hmm.
Same.
Well, the reason that I'm going to read you guys this exact Facebook post that Jason sent me is because I want you to keep these details in mind that I'm going to read you as we go throughout the case. This is only one post about this particular gentleman, but there are many, many others out there nearly identical to it. No, this is not an AI thing or anything like this. This is a real post and keeps getting shared and recreated by a lot of people. And so the post says, this is John Eisenman. He lost his daughter to sexual trafficking. She was sold for $1,000 in Seattle, Washington. He did what a father should do and researched, investigated, and found out about her abduction. He, in big all caps, he rescued her himself, also in all caps. He found out the person who sold her into trafficking was her 19-year-old boyfriend. He met up with him, abducted him, bludgeoned and stabbed him to death in November 2020. The authorities found him in October 2021 in the trunk of a car that he had abandoned. John Eisenman sits in jail knowing his daughter is safe and growing up after he had already lived 60 years of his life. I bet you he rests easy. Live your life to the fullest. Do your absolute best to make sure your children have the opportunity to do the same, no matter what the sacrifice. I will be sending John some commissary money. I hope he gets to see freedom with his daughter one day. He deserves a medal. And there's a picture of him.
Yep. I don't know the specific case, but this is the Y. Gary case all over again. The guy from Louisiana who literally, as his child's convicted perpetrator of sex abuse, is like, I think he's in like an airport or like maybe outside of a car. I can't remember. He's like by a payphone. It was an airport, right? And he fucking kills him.
Train station.
Right. And that's the whole point then, is the law enforcement officers who knew this man. He was the victim's dad. It's like, why, Gary? And that's it reminds me of these. These cases are tough for me.
Mm-hmm.
And I know for you guys
This one won't
too.
be. This one will not be.
Okay.
No.
Well, I mean, the thing is we can't. Vigilante justice isn't legal.
No, I know, and I actually, you stop stealing my content.
I'm just all
you
right.
stop stealing my content.
But understandably why. This person on here has a very specific opinion, and I bet probably when confronted with your own child, 80% maybe of the population would say, worth it.
As a father of a daughter, I can see why this post caught your attention, and I'm guessing you probably have some feelings on how you would have behaved in a similar situation, right? Which is why you sent it to me. And Megan's going to love this case because it's going to show us exactly why we need laws, exactly why vigilante justice, if allowed in society, would cause a world more wrought with chaos than we already have, which she's already touched upon. And you're not wrong. But this case is going to showcase this even more, you guys, because just remember the details from that post. I gave you a lot of information there.
You did.
He found out his daughter was sold into sex trafficking for $1,000. He did the research because the police would do nothing and went and rescued her, right? And then he found out where her abductor was because it was her boyfriend, and then took justice into his own hands. And what a hero. Let's send him money for his commissary, right?
Commissary, yeah.
Yeah. These are the types of posts that we're going to see. And now I want to tell you the real fucking story.
Okay, tell me the real fucking story.
All right. Let's start with
I'm like, oh, this is
this is one where Charnell's getting
ass.
fired up. Let's start with Randy and Teresa Sorenson. They're a typical American couple that lived in Washington State. They adopted a son, Andrew Sorenson, as a baby. They supported him through years of physical therapy for his cerebral palsy. And then adapted through his autism diagnosis that he received a little bit later in life. Not later in life, I mean later after they adopted him.
Sure.
And sought treatment for all his needs. Teresa even has a whole box of records showing just how much care has went into raising Andrew. He has an IQ of 81.
Oh.
In school, he often was isolated from peers due to his disabilities, but did graduate and did have a friend group. Much of his peers that he found fellowship with were a part of Spokane, Washington's homeless youth population. An article that was done with his mother, Teresa, she acknowledges that Andrew did get into drugs. A year prior to his murder, he had actually been arrested for selling marijuana. I am unsure if there was any actual hard drug use that was a part of his life. I couldn't find that specifically. I only found references to marijuana.
Yeah, and it's not the marijuana use that's the issue here. It's that he was alleged to be a dealer,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yep.
And unfortunately, people with that type of cognition, and not to be offensive,
course.
but his friend group is probably pretty young. And so his people he's selling to targeted wise are going to be youth.
Yeah.
We don't like when people sell weed to our kids.
No.
Correct.
And I think he was arrested a year prior. He still would have been a kid.
Yeah, it
By
doesn't
the
matter
way.
whether it's a kid selling
Yeah.
to other kids. It's still
Right.
Still can't do it.
distribution of substances to minors.
Now, Andrew would often bring home some of his homeless friends, and Randy and Teresa would support these friends for extended periods of time.
Because these are foster care people.
Yeah.
These are people who are used to taking in the disadvantaged and kids who have no one.
Yep. In April 2019, available records show that a woman did request a temporary order of protection against Andrew Sorenson, but the request was actually denied after a court hearing.
Sure, it happens all the time.
Mm-hmm.
I have people request personal protection orders, and then when you actually have a hearing on it, you find out that there really wasn't a certain amount of
Right.
like stalking or threats or harassment that was happening.
Yep.
You warn them and send them on their way.
Yes, which to me sounded exactly like what happened in this situation. In July 2020, this is just 4 months before his murder, Andrew Sorenson pleaded not guilty to charges of fourth-degree assault, marijuana possession, and the intent to sell marijuana that were lodged against him by the Spokane County Sheriff's Office. That's his criminal history, quote unquote, as we know it.
Okay.
Prior to.
And these are just charges.
They are, yes. That one, 2019 one was dropped. 2020 never had its ability to play out
As we
before he
will
goes missing.
Here.
Mm-hmm. Andrew met John Eisman's daughter because she was homeless. Okay.
That calls into question some issues at home and parenting and what was happening.
Exactly. She's underage at the time this case takes place.
I mean, she could have been a runaway.
Yeah,
I'll throw him a
of
bone.
course.
I'll throw him a
Yeah.
bone.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. She's underage at the time that this case takes place, so her name is not released, and I'm not going to release it here either. Randy and Teresa allowed this girl, who was 17 at the time, to stay at their house. She becomes Andrew's girlfriend. A part of this story that's not readily known is that although she is homeless, this girl was actually awarded a $20,000 settlement as a result of an accident that she'd been in. She used a large portion of that money to buy a car. In the fall of 2020, despite Teresa's pleas, she, John Eisman's daughter, Andrew Sorenson, and other friends used the car to travel to Seattle, and basically they go on a binge.
Okay.
They spend that money. And there's trouble. There's presumably drug use. While they're in Seattle, the car was stolen, and Andrew Sorenson was stranded, so he called his family to come and retrieve him. But he did not take John Eisman's daughter with him when they went back to Spokane.
Okay, so his parents come to pick him up, but the daughter is not, John Eisman's daughter is not there.
Nope, not. They do not take her back as well. And this is the reality. We don't know if this young girl refused to leave with Andrew. Had they broken up? Did she just want to stay there or what? But Andrew is retrieved by his parents, and this girl is left with no choice but to call her father, John Eisman. John is engaged to a woman named Brenda Cross. I don't know if Brenda is this young girl's mother. All the articles referred to both Brenda and John as her parents, but they're not married. They were engaged. So I'm really unsure if this is just lazy reporting because this case is wrought with it, or if she truly is the daughter of Brenda and John. So, much of the onset of the case was really screwed up in the beginning anyway. So it's also possible that she is actually Brenda's daughter and was just about to become John's stepdaughter.
Yeah.
Realistically, we don't know because it doesn't matter.
Family units are made in many ways.
Right. Yes. And I really did, in certain circumstances and certain articles and sources that I saw, I was using some things with a grain of salt here. This little girl is troubled. She's a drug user. We know that. She's homeless. She had her car stolen, and she ends up getting involuntarily hospitalized. So an involuntary psych hold.
Sure.
Okay.
That means someone committed her, or law enforcement took her in to have her committed, and she wouldn't sign in.
Law enforcement
Okay.
is where we were at. And I know that from what I'm about to tell you in a second. But this to me is another possible reason why she didn't return to Spokane with Andrew, right? Because she's in the hospital. The Seattle police called John Eisman, and he comes and gets the 17-year-old girl, okay? He did not find out where she was after she was trafficked and rescue her, okay?
Law enforcement said, come pick up your kid.
Yeah.
She's being released from the hospital.
Your homeless daughter, who maybe she was a runaway, whatever, okay, was in the hospital in an involuntary hold, and the police called you and told you where she was.
Because she's a minor.
Yes.
And
Yep.
she clearly told the police who to call.
Right. And I am sorry to all the people that want to believe the Hollywood version of this case, but John Eisman is not a Liam Neeson. His daughter was not kidnapped. She was not sold into trafficking, and the police did not do nothing to hunt her down.
They called him and said, pick up your kid.
Yes, exactly. And everyone wants to say that Andrew is some Romeo pimp. That's the actual term, by the way.
Romeo pimp.
Yes, when you are dating someone that sells you into trafficking, they're called a Romeo pimp.
I stopped
That's a
calling
thing.
Jason
It's a thing.
that
Right.
a long time
That's
ago.
a thing.
He was offended.
She was not rescued from her Romeo pimp. He was called by the Seattle Police Department to come and get her. 1 week later, November 2020, John Eisman murdered Andrew Sorenson, and he got away with it for a year.
Okay.
These are the things that I want us to consider here. What did this young girl tell her father when he had to come get her from the hospital after she had just blown the $20,000 settlement and was in an involuntary psych hold and was using drugs? According to John, he believed his daughter had been sold into sex trafficking by Andrew, but that is simply what he told the police after he was caught.
And he doesn't ever even specifically say, my daughter told me this.
No.
And there's nothing to document that she made a statement to law enforcement that she had been trafficked.
Correct.
He
She
came
did
up
not.
with that story as a cover-up of an excuse to kill this guy.
Yes, he did. Yes, he did. Because
And there's no evidence different.
there is no, we'll get to it. I have all that information.
Okay, you know I'm
Don't
going to ask
you
because
worry.
there's going to
Yep.
be people out here who are
Yep.
like, really? Because if my daughter told me this happened, I
Sure.
would still follow through.
Right.
Sure. Nope. So much so that they didn't even at the hospital do a rape kit. So they had ordered one and then it got canceled after she spoke with the police. The police did not have, and she did not tell the police that she had been sold into any sort of sex trafficking.
Or that she'd been sexually
She'd
assaulted.
been, right. His daughter was homeless before all this, by the way. We know that because she was living at Andrew's house. That's how Andrew met her to begin with. Something that's also conveniently left out about John is that at the time of the murder, he was using methamphetamine.
Oh, John, no.
Okay?
That doesn't help you make good decisions at all.
Apparently
No.
not.
Well,
No.
if you've ever seen somebody high on a meth-fueled binge, they don't always use reason or common sense.
Right, of course.
These are people who can't control their physical actions, let alone what's happening inside their brain. And those of you who know how I feel about addicts in recovery know that I have a big, huge soft spot for them and want them to get help. But let's go back to the days. Think of you or your loved ones or people you know who have that addiction and what type of decisions that you make.
Well, and quite frankly, this is 2020. This is all happening in 2020 when the world was just a bit more chaotic than it already is, right?
Right.
People weren't going to work. They are home using more out of boredom, out of fear, lots of different things.
Not me. I had to go to work.
And me too. Something
Couldn't-
about being one of those.
And I also could never have used methamphetamine. They don't allow that.
No, they don't. They frown upon that in all of our positions, actually. There are plenty who speculate that if it had been true, if he'd actually believed that his already homeless daughter had been sold into sex trafficking, it's because that's what his daughter told him to deflect the responsibility off from herself. Many others, however, including Andrew's parents, believe it's more about murdering the person that they believed spent the $20K that they likely had plans for than ever believing sex trafficking was involved. John claims that the police would do nothing about his daughter being sold into trafficking. Even if this was the case, he gave them a week. Think about that. It was 1 week from the time that he went and picked his daughter up from Seattle before Andrew went missing. 1 week. Is that enough time to say they're not investigating my daughter being trafficked? And I will tell you, they weren't, because there is absolutely zero evidence that Andrew Sorenson was connected with any sort of sex trafficking.
Well, was there
At all.
any evidence that it was ever reported to the Seattle police?
No.
Right. That's the
Like-
thing.
No.
Like, you can't
No, that's
investigate
what I
something
mean.
that has
Right.
never been reported to you.
It's another reason why I think he's full of shit. So he claims that he did his own research and learned shortly after returning to Spokane with his daughter that Andrew would be at a location in Airway Heights, Washington. It was actually described as a trailer.
Modular home park.
Yeah, for lack of a better word, like just a trailer community. So John and Brenda went to that location. Remember his fiance, possibly the girl's mother. John jumped 19-year-old Andrew, zip-tied his arms behind his back and his legs together. They put a sock in his mouth and then duct tape over his mouth and put him in the trunk of Brenda's Honda Accord. They drove to a remote location where Andrew was tortured. The couple played music. They were laughing while Andrew was begging for his life. And while he was in the trunk, they were punching him. John threw a cement cinder block on Andrew's head, and then John stabbed Andrew repeatedly in the stomach, which was ultimately the cause of his death. We know all this because John admits all this later when caught. They then drove the car with Andrew's body in the trunk back to their residence and parked it on the street overnight. John claims he was likely high on meth at the time of the murder. The next day, he drove the vehicle to a property off of US 12. Excuse me, it's US 2.
We have US 12.
We do.
I was like, that goes all the way to Seattle?
No, wrong way.
He put the Honda in the back of the property and removed the car battery so that no one could drive it. It was not his property, and he did not return to the property after abandoning the vehicle. Andrew's parents reported him missing immediately. He was listed as a missing person for a year. About 1 year later, a third party removed the car from the property. So like a towing company is what I'm assuming here, something of the sort.
Repo.
Or someone who, or repo. Mm-hmm. Not knowing Andrew's body was in the trunk, of course. Then, when the car was parked at the third party location, other people broke into it searching for items, okay? Like looters, whatnot.
What town do these people live in?
I know there's crimes within crimes. We're in Spokane, Washington.
Yeah,
here.
a lot of those West Coast states got hit hard in the opioid
Remember,
epidemic.
Yes,
Yeah.
and this is 2021. I know. So this is how Andrew's body is discovered in the trunk, and it was discovered on October 22nd, 2021. He'd been missing since November 2020. Andrew's poor parents are informed, but then it's all over the news, and his mother actually speaks about how they actually learned through the news of the actual brutality that their son went through, which breaks my heart even more.
Yeah, you guys have to remember that. Take everything else out of this right now. If he was justified, and justified in terms of really having evidence that there was sex trafficking and his daughter had been sexually assaulted, he wasn't having a reaction like in other cases, like the Y. Gary case and those where you're having an immediate reaction. You probably are committing some type of second degree or even manslaughter, like because you're acting out of emotion. This was clearly planned and premeditated and didn't just involve a reaction where you freak out and fucking kill somebody, you hurt your kid. You kidnapped them, tortured them, murdered them, and left them for dead.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
These are all things that do not lend evidence or credence to an actual impulsivity issue as a reaction to a crime against your child.
Yep. That's why I said you weren't going to have any problems with this case.
I don't now that you're explaining it.
The police discovered that the car was registered to Brenda Cross, and they go to her residence, but she's not home. So they speak with John Eisman himself. He tells them that over a year ago, Brenda's Honda Accord had been stolen. A couple hours later, they speak with Brenda, and she verifies the same story. But of course, the police are a little suspicious because why had you never reported your vehicle stolen, ma'am?
Because you guys did something wrong. Again, none of this, it lends credence. It's the fact that somebody posted on Facebook without even doing this research is why, I hate social media reporters and what do you call them? Keyboard warriors?
Yeah.
Couch warriors?
Oh, and it gets worse. It really does.
Good.
Yeah. You're going to hate them more.
I was just hoping it would get worse.
That's what I'm here for, guys. A detective on the case from Spokane Police Department, Randy Lesser, learned that a resident had actually called Crime Check to report a couple of days after Andrew's body was found. That this guy calls Crime Check, and he says, you know what? My neighbor actually told me that John Eisenman confessed to killing someone and placing the body in the trunk of a vehicle.
And you just reported this now, sir?
Well, it was after the body was found. It was on the news. Oh. And so this dude is talking to his neighbor, and his neighbor's like, yeah, it's the strangest thing. My friend John tells me that he murdered a guy. And so that's not once the guy found out, he was like,
tells you randomly that he murdered someone?
No, it's not John as the neighbor.
No, I know.
The neighbor's friend?
This guy, the guy who made the call to Crime Check, he was like, my neighbor told me that he heard from John Eisenman. Right. Yes.
His neighbor should have called the police.
Oh, well, yes. I don't know I know.
Woulda, shoulda, coulda, Jason. Yeah. Sometimes people say, first of all, you have a known meth head, a person who consumes methamphetamine. Let me please clarify. That was rude. Making statements that are bizarre or weird. I bet this guy has probably heard this kind of shit before. Yeah. Okay.
Sure, that's true.
So you have somebody tweaking going, I killed that guy that hurt my daughter. And you're like, okay, whatever.
Right.
I might not report it either.
True. So Randy Lesser contacts the neighbor who said, yeah, John Eisenman, he told me that he killed Andrew Sorenson because Andrew forced his daughter into prostitution. Prostitution, not sex trafficking. That's a different distinction, guys.
It is.
Prostitution's different. Detective Lesser discovered that John Eisenman provided specific details about Andrew's body, location, like how he was stabbed, details that hadn't been released in the media. They just said a body was found and it was identified as missing person Andrew Sorenson. But yet this guy's like, yeah, John told me about the cinder block to the head, the stabbing. So this detective's like, only someone who was a part of the homicide would know this.
As a detective, you just got yourself what we call a credible tip.
You sure did. So John Eisenman was arrested 1 week after Andrew Sorenson's body was found. And he'd been hailed a hero for what he did because Andrew's family never had a chance to tell their side of the story. And at first, they didn't even know the details. They were grieving the loss of their child. Put yourself in their position. They report their child missing. Their child's body shows up almost a year later in a trunk. So now they know he's been murdered. They don't know anything else, right? They don't know the specifics until John Eisenman is arrested and then comes up with his story. And then the family has to hear on the news the way that this guy is slandering their murdered 19-year-old son. This is disgusting. Like, this is what's wrong with humans, honestly. They're just trying to navigate through their grief. And then they see that there's a smear campaign that is raising funds for John's legal defense. And it did. A GoFundMe raised over $60,000 for his legal defense. That's what I meant by it gets worse.
Holy shit.
Yes.
But the people donating to that were given false information.
Sure were.
They're going off of a Facebook post like what you gave us earlier.
Correct. By this time, his daughter, who's an adult, is still homeless, possibly still using. We don't know. And this guy has the world sending him money for a defense, which that's bullshit to begin with. So your daughter's still living on the streets, struggling as a drug addict, and you're getting all this money for your legal defense for someone that you murdered because you came up with some cockamamie scheme as to why you should. Now, you know what? Maybe his daughter is a complete piece of shit and convinced him that Andrew sold her into prostitution or sex trafficking or whatever. But this is exactly why vigilante justice cannot be served. Because even if that is true, and John thought he was defending his daughter, he had no basis in fact. He had no credible information.
I'm not going to lay any blame on her. She's clearly troubled and has some issues with she's homeless or unhoused and she's got substance use issues. But I haven't heard any credible evidence to indicate that she disclosed to either medical professionals or law enforcement what had happened. We only have her dad's version of what he believes happened. And we don't even know if that came from her.
We don't.
So I don't lay any blame on her at this point.
Well, the real kick in the dick is that all forms of police have repeatedly expressed that there's absolutely no proof that Andrew was involved in sex trafficking or that John's daughter had been trafficked at all. His name was only ever on a missing persons list, never on a list connected with trafficking. It was stated in court and reiterated several times by the police, and yet because people would rather buy into the police did nothing because they don't care theory instead of looking at this for what it is, premeditated murder by a methed up dude that is justifying his actions by claiming he rescued his daughter from sex trafficking after watching too much Taken in Hollywood. There was no evidence. Now, I will say this. The FBI was contacted, and the FBI, much like our department, cannot and will not make statements as to whether or not there is or ever has been an investigation on something. That's law. They can't. They won't. Unless something has been prosecuted all the way through and they've taken an active part in it, which obviously in this case has not happened. So all other forms of police, including state police, okay, and different specialty task forces, okay, have all said and did say there was absolutely no evidence. So John just saying that he found out, this is hearsay. This is through the streets of, and could potentially just been his daughter, right? It's like, oh, honestly, I don't even think that. I think he's ticked off about the $20K that he no longer has access to, or his daughter has. He wouldn't have known. Andrew's mom is the one that was caring for her at the time that she gained access to that settlement money, okay, and tried to explain to them, yes, you can buy a car or whatever, but do not go blow this. Like, do not just go have a wild weekend. Anyway.
Kids.
This GoFundMe. John does admit everything. I'm sorry, let me back up a little bit. John does admit everything to the police once he's arrested, okay?
Okay.
The GoFundMe did help him obtain defense, and in reality, that just delayed justice for Andrew's family. At first, John wanted to go to trial and take the stand to tell the jurors his side of the story about murdering the man who trafficked his daughter. However, I'm sure with the help of his shiny lawyer, he decided not to, and he pled guilty for a 22-year sentence, which was the recommendation in the plea. John then claimed, hero complex once again, that he did that. He pled guilty just so he wouldn't cause Andrew's family further pain by having to deal with the trial. No, you pled guilty because you knew the sentence was going to be less than what a possible jury trial and conviction would have been. Right, exactly. So stop with the hero mentality here. You are absolutely no one's hero. This guy just really wants to be seen as, and social media has allowed it. That's what so disgusting
well, what's
to
crazy is that he apparently made a confession upon his arrest, and yet a person without doing any research had no problem posting on Facebook, John was just arrested for this, this, and this. John actually was a hero, blah, blah, blah. You didn't dig real deep to see if John had confessed.
Right.
I'm going to throw
probably important before you take a stance like that. What I'm seeing here is this person's probably not going to be working for NBC anytime soon.
No.
Maybe Fox? I don't know.
Fox.
What hasn't helped is that the collective conscience of humanity here in America, at least, we've taken the bait. There are some 2-bit put together true crime podcasters who they see a top news story and they start reporting on it. There's a lot of podcasts out there that are going to read that social media post, do very little bit of research, and then, and probably did back when this was happening, right? 2021, 2022, and be like, this man, I actually went down a Reddit thread, which was kind of a crazy ride, but there were a ton of Reddit people bashing podcasts that they typically like to listen to for getting it so wrong because they were reporting it right out of the gate and not getting any of the facts, not having it actually go through the legal process and just taking that social media
Let me go a step
bait.
farther with some of the cases that have happened here in Michigan recently, and I'm not going to name any names, and these type of cases happen everywhere. When you're a podcaster and some type of an amateur sleuth and you catch on to a case and then you go out there and start doing your own quote unquote investigation with all of your, social media training and start bashing law enforcement about how they're not doing this and they're not doing that and they didn't do anything and you're the reason the case was solved. I will have you know, you dumb shits, that police can't just go disclosing everything like you're doing with actual verbal diarrhea about what your speculation is as to what's happening. They have to keep those things quiet, closed, and behind closed doors until I know this word is hard for you guys, an investigation is completed. Mm-hmm. And then it goes in front of the criminal justice system. I'm so sorry that the justice system moves slow sometimes. I know you're going to find this hard to believe, but sometimes we want to be accurate.
Right. And people do have a right to due process. That includes the investigation process.
Absolutely. I don't know how many times you get an arrest and you're like, they did it. Obviously, they probably did. But we are an adversarial form of justice in the United States. We are an innocent until proven guilty country.
So you're saying you can't just charge someone on the sniff test?
You can't, and probable cause for purposes of charging isn't a sniff test. And I don't think that I've ever seen a Supreme Court ruling where it says it is. Reasonable suspicion gives you a great ground to be able to start some type of investigation, like for things like search warrants and those type of things. But you still need probable cause to start the investigation, by the way, with a reasonable suspicion or with like a civil infraction stop. But probable cause is harder than people think it is.
Well, sure. Right.
So you're sitting out here as an amateur sleuth podcaster, whatever you call yourself and whatever we call ourselves, I guess, but we would never do this.
Well, no.
We're not taking to
investigating these things.
Airwaves saying, well, this case just started, but these are all the things that everyone's done wrong.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. And noted.
And let's hail this guy who has murdered another human being, a 19-year-old. Let's hail him a hero.
Well, and that's how terrible accidents happen. I mean, some of the cases I'm discussing, they have the right person. They just have to prove it, and a jury has to convict, right?
Right.
This is a situation where it was never what it proclaimed to be because somebody took to the airwaves way too soon and without doing their research.
Yep.
Somebody believed something they were told or heard someplace.
Yep.
Bad reporting.
And it just got shared widely, just over and over and over again. People are still putting money in his account, by the way. Like, this is gross.
This is crazy.
What's interesting to me is that Brenda Cross, she wasn't initially arrested. She catches charges after not learning, apparently, from John's mistake because she couldn't keep her stank-ass mouth shut. In August 2020...
Brenda's an accessory anyway.
She is, but she hadn't been charged yet, okay? Because John pleads guilty. John is like, I did it. I murdered him. Okay. In August 2022, she tells a coworker about taunting Andrew while he was dying, according to court documents. Brenda also told the coworker that she played a song about, quote, crying, 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 while she and John Eisman killed Andrew. Brenda then started to hum the song, saying that she played the song because Andrew was crying so much while begging for his life. The coworker said that Brenda Cross told her that she and John were laughing and singing while Andrew Sorenson cried. She also told the coworker that she punched Andrew in the face and that she and John hit him with a cinder block, beat him, and stabbed him. She said that they put Andrew's body in the trunk of her vehicle before ditching the car. Brenda told the coworker that Andrew, quote, got what he deserved, end quote. So the coworker went straight to the police. Police arrested Brenda Cross and booked her in jail September 15th, 2022 on suspicion of first-degree murder. She also pleads guilty. She took a plea deal of manslaughter. What is weird is that their sentences did not happen until earlier this year. They had a court hearing in January, and then I think the sentencing was in March. They were given credit for time served, but John was ultimately given 22 to 25 years.
Okay.
Brenda Cross was given 8.5 years. The family does not believe this is justice for their kid.
No.
At all, and I totally get that. Randy Sorenson addressed John at the sentencing and said this: John could have worked through any issues involving our children, but he took advantage of Andrew and brutally murdered him instead. He looked right at John and said, quote, it would have just taken a phone call, brother. You're going to prison and my kid's dead. We could have worked out these details between our kids, is what he's trying to say.
Yeah.
You could have called us and we could have talked about and explained, Andrew has cerebral palsy. He has autism. He has an IQ of 81. So tell me what maybe your daughter told you or what you're hearing or whatever.
Hey, how about we involve the police and have them investigate this and figure it out?
We can work this out. He said that John took advantage of Andrew with his cerebral palsy and autism, and when he and Brenda confronted him and tied him up, he said, evil came over you. I just feel like John is a really evil man, and I don't know why. John Eisman told the judge that he wanted the family to know that it was he who killed Andrew and not Brenda.
Oh, that's romantic.
Mm-hmm.
Oh.
Yep.
True love.
Yes. Yeah. So how chivalrous of him, really, really. But that is the horrible murder of Andrew Sorenson, and I can't imagine having your child taken away from you, but then to also have the very person who took your child from you be glorified and money continuously sent to him because somehow people feel that vigilante violence is acceptable, even when void of actual facts.
I thought they had this thing on the social media where if something was like reported enough times and it was clearly like inaccurate, you'd get like a fake news thing.
Here's the problem, though.
But
I don't
at the same
think
time,
for him, Megan, I don't think that Andrew's parents, they did a very good article that it was posted in a Washington publication that's behind a paywall. Okay? Quite frankly, it would be good for them to go to other news sources and get this out, but they might just not want to continuously have to fight this battle.
No,
it doesn't bring their son back. It really doesn't. And so, you know, it's just, regardless, murder is wrong. And we cannot just take it into our own hands here, people, no matter how much we think is justified. So how are you, Jason, drinking your margarita over there? Are you blown away? Are you sad you recommended this now? What's going on?
I'm not sad I recommended it. I'm a little disappointed that it spun this direction.
Because you were hoping it was a true vigilante dad?
I was hoping that was a true story, and we could talk about that.
I think that those cases do happen, but this did not go that way.
No.
I think you're right that those cases do happen, but... Mm-hmm.
But we have to let them be investigated appropriately.
We do. Yes, we do. And
you guys, we aren't saying that there are fuck ups in investigations and with law enforcement. In fact, those of you who've listened to us long enough, go back. Know that we will call out bad cops and bad investigations when we see them.
Sure do.
I do that every day for work.
Yes.
Right? Like
Yes.
there are people who I think are great people who sometimes mess up, and I call shit out when I see it, because you have to be fair and you have to be just, no matter who the perpetrator is, no matter who the alleged offender is. And this is a situation where, and I don't even want to say anything really awful about the person who posted that, because again, you have to do your due diligence if you're going to post and be reputable. She was probably just a normal human who read something someplace and then, or he, and then took to the Facebook thinking that they had the facts. I would be interested to know if that person was ever confronted with, do you know that none of that is true? Do you know that you just put money in the account of a convicted killer?
It's funny that you say that. I can tell you what some of these, I'm glad you said that, because I actually meant to read you some of the comments.
Hey, if you post on social media, then under your name, I say put all their names out there too. How about their addresses? I'm kidding. Don't do any of that.
So let's see. One commenter that just only commented 3 days ago, Jason, that's so fucked up that he's sitting in jail for doing what any father would do for their daughter. That man should receive a medal instead of sitting in prison. The government needs to get this man out and unite him with his daughter. Again, here's a person devoid of fact.
He didn't know.
He did another guy.
This is a man that could have been reunited with daughter at any point in time. Right. Instead, she's homeless, probably living a life of addiction, somebody who needs help and support. And instead, her dad's benefited from his saving her by murdering a young man, pocketing all of the money that all of the unsuspecting public has donated. And he's eating Cheetos in prison on commissary because you guys keep putting money in his account.
Oh, here's a good one. Every real man and father will do the same. Since the police are lazy and stupid, even if you give them all the information and proof, they don't care.
Sometimes the lazy and stupid people are the people posting on the goddamn Facebook.
Exactly. Oh, this one's good. We need to change the laws and make it legal to end life of child traffickers when busted red-handed. We need to bring back capital punishment and public execution. 24 people actually liked that comment. Here's the thing, guys. This is exactly why we should not be able to make it legal.
I want you to think about this before you allow for public execution really quick. I want you to go to your grocery store, go to Walmart, and I want you to pick 12 people in Walmart and stand in line in front of you. And then when you have them in front of you, ask them to be in charge of whether they decide you should be executed or not.
Yep. I do here we go. Here's a winner. Do a little research on this case. It's not the way it's portrayed in this post. And so then people are like, okay, smarty pants, why don't you enlighten us? They're like, listen, search his name. Literally dozens of articles come up all over the country about him and the case. If you can't do that for yourself, I will not be discussing it with you. Look it up, make an intelligent comment, and I will be happy to.
That is my friend right there. That is who I want. That's who I want.
Them to our.
Well, that's a person who you want serving on a jury. This is a person who takes the time to inform themselves. So don't actually do that if you're sitting on a jury and look things up outside of court, by the way. But you are the type of human being that we want sitting on a jury so that you can take all the actual information and evidence, process it through your big brain on Brad, and then do something with it.
Yep. Yeah. So you
got me fired up.
I know.
Jason, this was a great suggestion. I'm glad you ran across that, thinking it would be something else, because
it actually helped to reiterate the point.
The Brave Bath Jason that I know at one point in time may not have been restrained and could have been one of those comments.
Oh, absolutely.
He did like the post. It does show up for me that he liked the post.
Maybe you should go unlike.
I should probably go unfollow.
No, you should go unlike that, because I'm sure they're not paying attention.
Right.
I'm sure one of the 400,000 people on there will be like, how come that Jason guy unliked the post?
Right.
This is just a wonderful cautionary tale for everybody. And I do go down the rabbit hole of keyboard warriors and always wonder, guys, if it had been your 19-year-old son murdered, would you be commenting right now about how justified you think this is? No, you absolutely wouldn't.
From personal experience as someone who's involved in the media often, I don't read them. And I don't want, when sending them to me, and I don't follow those groups, and I don't care. And so when people are like, did you know this? Did you hear that? Did you know what they said about you? I'm like, nope, I honestly don't.
No, don't care and can't care.
Not that I don't care. It's that I won't care.
Right. No, that's what I'm saying. You can't. Like, it's, yes. What were you going to say, Jay?
Forgot.
Oh, sorry.
I do that to men.
At the beginning of the show here, part of my thought process was that somebody else other than John, what's his last name?
Eisenman.
Sorenson's a kid.
Yep.
Eisenman. Someone other than him came up with this and posted this, like, just randomly made up a total bullshit story about this guy.
Nope.
Which and then would have made me more pissed off. Like someone's that bored that this is a real person who's really in prison for killing somebody, and someone just figured, I'm just going to make up this story and put it on Facebook and see how many people pay attention to it.
I bet he
Which
didn't.
still happens.
It does.
It does, but that's not what happened here.
Right.
He made up this story.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And there's clearly documentation of it, and that was publicized. But you also have to remember that he never took the stand. That was never given as a defense. So it didn't legally happen.
Right.
If there was a valid legal defense, they would have presented it.
Correct.
And the fact that he decided to cop a plea instead,
Yep.
you aren't allowed to use those statements then to determine some type of reasonable doubt fact like this human being did, who's clearly part of the legal justice system and I'm sure got straight A's at Sally Struthers University of Law.
I'm sure. Is that a real fake place?
No, I fucking made it up.
I know.
Charnell.
I said, is that a real fake place?
Yes, it is a real fake place.
Oh, shoot.
It might have been from South Park. I don't know the things I say anymore.
Do you guys want a brain bath?
Oh, yes, because
Please.
I'm just angry now.
No,
Yeah.
I don't know.
Now I'm just
This is
grumpy.
funny, but it's not going to give us any more faith in humanity. Okay,
No, I didn't expect it.
This is probably something that also shows why humans are the worst, but in a less harmful way. The ways I gaslight my husband when we fight.
Oh, I love it.
This isn't me personally.
No.
This is just something else.
You should watch these on TikTok, by the way, too.
Yeah.
They're hilarious.
Yeah. She said, this person says, this isn't anything crazy, just something funny that I want to tell people, but can't risk getting caught. My husband and I have been together for 8 years. For the past couple of years, I make him a peanut butter and jelly sandwich every day to take to work.
I love it.
I use Welch's Grape Concord jelly. That's my favorite. This is important for later. Every day he tells me that I make the best sandwiches, and I just say, I make it with love. I love that too, because I do say that to my kids.
Make it with love. Or you put it in your sandwich baggie and you put a little heart on it or a sticker.
Just love the name of the dog.
No, she said, no. She says, however, when we're fighting, you guys.
What?
That is not where this is going.
That's why I don't let him make me sandwiches.
She said, however, when we're fighting, he always says he can taste the difference in the PB&J. And I say, it's because it was made with hate instead of love. But the truth is, he can taste the hate in his sandwich because when we fight, I use organic, sugar-free grape jam. It's in the back of the fridge and he's never seen it. So it's what I use to convince him that he can't make me mad or angry because it makes his food taste different.
Because she switches just fucking Welch's grape to
That's really
generic.
fucked up. That's fucking psychological warfare.
I
That's
made it
not
with
okay.
hate. Welcome to marriage, Jason. We're happy to have you here.
You are so right. It's not okay. I warned you. I said it's going to make you laugh, but it's not going to make you feel better about humanity.
That's warped.
That's just fantastic right there.
Oh, it really is.
Makes you want to be devious just a little bit. If
And
I
like how she
if I
started it.
ever made lunch for my
You're
significant
brilliant.
other, I would do that.
Right. If you ever made the poor man a
ever
sandwich,
did
just
that.
one
No, he can
time.
make his own.
I love how she's like, this isn't anything crazy or anything. I'm like, well, you go through the trouble of buying 2 different types of grapes, ma'am, and you keep one, or jelly, and you keep one hidden.
Hide shitty
love it.
sugarless
Might be
jam.
Not
slightly
only that,
crazy.
but I'd get a different peanut butter too.
Sure, absolutely. Just really, really go all out.
Yeah,
Mhm.
exactly.
Get the crunchy
I
kind.
usually use no, that's noticeable. I usually use Jif and Welch's, but this time
Get
I'm
some
going to
shitty
use like
organic kind.
Spartan organic peanut butter and
the high protein peanut butter that's supposed to taste good and it
oh,
doesn't.
that's like a little bit of chalk.
And just get a bunch of
It
oil
is
so it
chocolatey.
separates after time and just, you gotta stir it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Jason
so
just drinks
there-
the oil off the top with a
Just
straw.
get a spoon.
You're welcome,
bathes in
everybody.
it.
I just taught you a little lesson in how to gaslight and train your significant other to not make you angry so their food doesn't taste
I
differently.
really appreciate it because I'm just not the type of person who would have thought of that otherwise.
Also, maybe he can make his own damn sandwich. That's what I'm going to
That's
say.
where I am with it.
Right. Make your own damn sandwich.
You know how my husband can tell the difference between the love and hate when I make a sandwich? If I love him, I make one.
Right.
There's that.
Right.
It's
Where's
whether it
my-
gets served on a plate or thrown at him.
He's like,
He's mighty hungry when you guys fight.
where's my lunch? I'm like, Wendy's?
If you're mad, you cut it in
Wherever you go and get it from, honey.
in half, and
No, I have
instead
a-
of corner to corner,
It's
you
a
cut
penis,
it side to side.
penis cookie cutter, and I just... You get a bag of dicks for
I'm
lunch.
sure someone has sent us that over the years. I bet we've got a
cookie
penis
cutter?
cookie cutter.
If
I'm
not, I'm
sure.
gonna need one.
I know.
You know, I can actually just make one with a knife. I don't need a cookie
You could
cutter.
scalp one right out.
I've seen a couple in my lifetime. I think I could figure it out.
I think you could. Yeah, exactly. Now I'll make Jason a special booby sandwich. I can cut out some boobies for you.
All you need is 2 King's Hawaiian rolls and a maraschino cherry.
Is it gonna be like boob shaped sandwich, or are you gonna make it with your?
No, boob shape. That'd be messy.
They put peanut butter on your boobs.
Right.
Ew.
Slop it.
So gross.
First of all, mine don't move enough to be able to actually slop.
Oh, mine do. I could make you a sandwich and clean your shoes.
On that note, we really hope
It's hot. It's so hot.
Jesus. We hope that you keep it curious.
And keep listening.
Until next time.
If there is a next time.
Bye-bye.